Hey, Bianca. Welcome. How are you?
I'm so great.
That's good. Brad, how about you?
Someday we're going to let you guys watch the first 10 minutes before we actually start Facebook Live.
That would be fun.
The amount of crap I have to put up.
Could you imagine the traction we could get? People will be here every time before it starts just to see if we're going to start.
They'd probably be checking to see if I was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'd probably see if I'm mean to you and Brett's mean to you.
Yeah, they're like, man, I feel so bad for Bianca. She has to put up with Brett and Marvin.
That's funny. So, I think we should have a good subject today. I think our subject should be, and this will probably stir up a lot of, well, maybe not, because a lot of dog trainers don't follow us, I don't think. But if a lot of dog trainers followed us, this would stir up a lot of turmoil, or whatever you want to call it, about why dogs are so leash aggressive. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So, and we see it here a lot, and we see it in town too when we take dogs to towns that's really leash aggressive.
Yeah.
If you can figure out how to get your leash loose, it takes away a lot of the aggression.
For sure. Yeah.
And I think we have a lot of videos maybe on the internet shows you kind of how to do that. Mm-hmm. But I think there's a lot of different ways. And me and you and Mariah was there, and I think Mickey was there. Maybe Kay the other day when I was working with the one dog showing you how to get the leash loose, you know?
Mac?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because, and I don't think he's leash aggressive. He just
he might be for the owners. Yeah. He's obnoxious on the leash.
He'll just pull you down. He has no kind of rules at all on the leash. He didn't have. Now he's pretty cool. But with that dog, and I'm not saying all dogs, so don't nobody misunderstand me. But with that dog, I could have probably went to town with him the day we had him and walked him. Mm-hmm. And he would have probably been pretty cool. Mm-hmm. But the only reason he would have been pretty cool is because I would not have tried to restrain him by my leg. I would let him walk out there, and I would have turned him, and I'd have used a pinch collar or prong collars or whatever.
You call it getting the dog hooked up with you.
Yeah, just to get him to back off the end of that collar or into that leash. And I think that's what people don't do. And me and you were talking about it with, I don't even think it was him. It was that Weimaraner. Is that right, dog? That wouldn't give up on the leash and heel?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just stuff like that. And like you're really good about changing it up, you know. And me too, but once in a while I even get kind of frustrated in the moment like I tried to do with Mac. Until I'm like, no, I can't do this. I got to go back to the way I did it before. Right. And that's the thing.
When it's not working.
Yeah, and that's the thing with you. And I think that's the thing a lot of times people don't understand. It's not a cut and dry, this is the way I do it.
Right.
You know, the way we always have to do it, I feel, for us, anyway, that works for us, is to figure out what it takes to get the leash loose. And with Mac, I even took him out here in this 60 or 80 foot lane we have that's really narrow, and worked with him while y'all were in the round pen for a few minutes just to try to get him back off the end of that collar, the leash, because he just, and it was a lot for him because we had 5 or 6 dogs in here and 4 or 5 people too in the round pen, so it made it a lot harder, I think, for him to try to focus, but I don't mind doing that as long as I can make improvements, which I did the whole time.
You did, yeah. Yeah.
Then I actually took him out to go to the bathroom outside.
Yeah.
And then I worked with him in the lane a little bit. And then he got really softened up and he got a whole lot better. And heck, now I think I could probably walk him anywhere in a heel with the leash on him and get him to be good. Don't know that because we haven't went to town yet and seen this dog dragging somebody down the street. But I think that's the hardest part for people that own a dog that is leash aggressive is they don't understand that majority of the time, if you just go from a halter to a slip leash or from a halter to a prong collar or a pinch collar, that's not going to fix it. Or even a gentle lead, a lot of times isn't going to fix it. The side pull isn't going to fix it.
Right.
Because you still haven't addressed the problem with a consequences for a bad behavior.
Right.
You've only, and I say all the time, you've only put a Band-Aid on it to just try to make it heal, but you forget to put salve on it.
Yeah.
You just put a Band-Aid on a dirty wound.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know. I feel like the dogs, when the owners have their leash as a restraint, not as a tether, a safety mechanism. It's like when you're riding in the car and your seatbelt locks.
Yes.
And you're not getting in an accident, but you can't move, and you start to get frustrated and uncomfortable because you literally can't move, and there's no reason to need to be restrained like that, so you hurry and unbuckle your seatbelt and try and get out of it. But the dogs try to get out of it by pulling you harder, and they never understand getting the leash loose until you teach them. So then they're just under frustration.
And I talk about that a lot with horses from my experience with horses. As when you start riding him, if you put a spur into a young horse's side, he goes to the spur, not away.
Right.
And people don't understand that either, but you have to teach them to go away from it so it won't quit. And dogs with leashes the same way. And some people think that they get the slip leash like I do. I put a slip leash on a lot of least aggressive ornery dogs when they come here. And I put the slip leash on them just so I can use it without inflicting any kind of pain, punishment, whatever you want to call it, correction. I use it a lot just to show them to get slack in the leash and it quits.
Yeah.
And then I go to the pinch collar, prong collar, e-collar. I can go with the e-collar and a slip leash and do the same thing for me, or I could go with the e-collar and a flat collar and do the same thing for me.
But it's because it has nothing to do with mainly the e-collar or the slip leash. It's because you feed the dog so much more information than just a leash correction.
The timing on it.
Yeah, and your body movement and telling the dog when they're in the right position and telling them when they're wrong.
Yes. And there's a lot of different ways to do it, I mean, but that's the way that works best for me, is to try to figure out how to tell my dog he's good and how to tell my dog he's bad, without so much forceful correction, I guess you could call it.
Right. Yeah.
And it depends on the dog, too. I mean, some dogs give by the time we go from the front of the barn to the back of the barn.
Right, yeah.
Other dogs are 2 or 3 days later, and they're still trying to struggle with it. And I think a lot of times it's the age of the dog.
For sure. How long they've been pulling people around.
How long they've been dragging people down the mountain and up the mountain. It makes a lot of difference to them, so... Brett, do we got any questions?
We don't. Not right now.
Is there anybody on here?
There's about 3 people online.
Cool. So I think when it comes to the leash walking, I've always said your dog don't have to heel. He can walk in front of you if you allow it, as long as he's on a loose leash. And for me, as long as I say heel, touch my leash, my dog comes back to my leg, then we're okay.
Yeah.
But if I can't do that, then I don't think I should be letting my dog walk out in front of me.
Yeah.
Because he's only going to pull on a leash or he's going to drag on a leash. And
yeah.
It's kind of the same thing with a recall, If I can't get a recall in my round pen, I'm not going to the beach.
No. Yeah.
And just because I have a recall with a dog in a round pen, or you have a recall with a dog in a round pen, don't mean the owner does.
Right.
Until they've kind of earned that leadership role, or whatever you want to call it.
Right. Hold the dog accountable themselves. Yeah.
And in the right way,
Yeah.
Some people try to, I feel, do it in the wrong situation, and we get people quite often that says, "Oh, my dog walks really good on a leash as long as I don't go outside, or as long as I am outside and not in the house." For me, if you can't walk your dog in the house on a leash, you're probably not going to do it outside.
Right.
And if you can't go in and out the front door
right.
with your dog on a leash in the right way, I don't think it's going to be good to open the door on your car with your dog in the car without really having a leash on your dog or having him blocked, because you might not catch him if he gets out of the car.
Right.
Or out of the house. We just had one the other day. They talked about getting out of the house and they can't catch him if he gets away from them. And it's just really hard for for me to understand a lot of that's the basics. Your dog comes when you ask him, they sit when you ask him, and they don't pull on your leash.
Right.
I mean, we were talking the other day about a dog in the house that was barking and whining and crying and getting on furniture and running out the front door and all kinds of stuff. And to me, you don't have the basic obedience in my mindset.
Right.
I mean, you've got to have that dog to come to you. Even front door's open without a leash on, he can't run through the door.
Right.
But if you can't control that with the leash on, without him pulling you through the front door, then you dang sure shouldn't take the leash off and open the door.
No kidding, yeah.
And we use the long lines a lot, you know. We don't use our whole ones, but heck, I've got one in here that I used back when I went to Pomona, California to do dog stuff, and that's probably been 10, 12 years ago or so. But we quit using it because we use the other ones now, but they're a lot easier on your hands than that little rope burning you. But I think that it goes back to always, for me, when dogs come here, one of the first things we try to get is them to be respectful on the leash and not drag us or our help down.
Yeah.
Because our help can't, you know, our help's not dog trainers. So the girls in the kennels, so we can't let them or expect them to get a 100-pound dog out of the kennel that's going to drag them down on a leash. We do it a lot, me and you normally now, to get them to where they can take them in and out. And a lot of them will pull still a little bit, but
not hurt the
yeah, they're not
the
dragging
girls
the
that
help
work
down.
in the kennels.
Here we're set up good enough that we tell the girls if they have to just let the dog go.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll catch him. He's still in the kennel or in a fenced area, so they don't have to take a chance to get drug down. But it's hard for people to wrap their mind around the fact sometimes how good their dogs can be. You know, because they get their head set that my dog's going to pull me for her.
Yeah, there's so many people
years.
who have a dog that pulls really bad on a leash or is leash reactive or leash aggressive, and they have to walk them at 4 in the morning and 10 o'clock at night, and they see someone who has put in a lot of work or done a board and train and continued the work and has a dog walking nicely on the leash, and their mindset is typically, oh, my dog could never do that.
Right. And the only reason their dogs can't ever do it is because they don't get with the right trainer.
Yeah.
Or they don't listen to the trainer when they do have the right trainer.
Or that, yeah, they can't get out of their head that their dog can do it for them. If your dog can do it, I was talking to a client that came on Saturday of how good his dog was in the round pen. And what's kind of funny about that is it's gotten cold. And so all my dogs that I've been training do really good in there and had a little bit harder time in the round pen because I've been training inside. And so that was my new place, the round pen. I would train in there for 5 days, 6, 7 days, and then have the owners come and I meet them in there. And I'm like, my dog's not doing as good out here as it did in there. And it's because I had not done it out there.
And that's what,
so there's nothing about the round pen. There's nothing about our property where you come here and, you know, they just are good at Marvin's.
Every time you take a dog out, like you're saying now, to a new spot, a different spot, it's going to be different for the dog until the dog just accepts you.
Right.
Like we can take all of our dogs anywhere and they're cool. Mm-hmm. Well, cool as they are. Not perfect, but cool as they are. That's what more people...
They would come to me if they got out of the car.
Yeah.
They would lay down at my feet if I asked them to, and they wouldn't drag me on the leash.
Anywhere, and I think, but the whole thing is for people is they talk about how perfect their dog is in the house, but nowhere else. And it's only because they don't continue that from the house to somewhere else, because a lot of times the biggest problem is through that front door to go somewhere.
Right.
Their dogs don't behave. They'll sit in the house for, you know, and a lot of people say, yeah, my dog will sit and stay. And then they're like for, you know, 2 or 3 seconds.
Right.
Instead of for 2 or 3 hours or whatever the case may be, you know. And that's the hardest thing about training the dogs is for people who work and, you know, I don't know. I feel some people work 8 hours a day and they drive 20 or 30 minutes to work and 20 or 30 minutes home. So what do you got, 10-hour day? Mm-hmm. So that only leaves, what, 24 or 14 hours. Mm-hmm. And you need 8 hours of sleep, I guess, or whatever, you know. So I think that we have time to train on our dogs sometimes, but sometimes you have to cook dinner, you know, you got to cook breakfast, got to prepare lunches, whatever. Mm-hmm. But I think people don't understand how a small amount of time consistently throughout the week can make that difference.
Right.
You don't have to spend an hour or 2 hours training on your dog every day. You can spend 5 or 10 minutes in the morning or 5 or 10 minutes in the evening and be amazed at how much better your dog is. If you're winning and you don't, if you're training your dog in the house to be good on a leash you know, and you're really making headway, then you can't let them drag you through the front door or the back door and then think, well, I really made progress today, because you didn't really. You're better off to just fight at the door and win at the door.
Right.
You know, the same thing as people who have a backyard for their dog. They get in this habit of maybe not walking their dogs in public because they're not very nice. The dogs are kind of ornery. So they just open the back door and let them run. And then they go out the back door and chase them for 30 minutes to catch them. Or they bribe them with a treat, you know, to come back in the house so they can shut the door. You're not winning. So when it comes to that kind of things, you know, even putting a long line on it, you know, and shutting the long line in your sliding glass door in the back, going out in the backyard, that's not winning either, you know. You've got to figure out how to get that dog responsive on the leash uphill. And then you could go to the e-collar, you know, and get them responsive with the leash with the e-collar. Like I said, some dogs here, I put the e-collar on them and the pinch collar on them or the slip leash on them all at the same time and go with it. Some dogs I don't. I mean, it kind of depends on the dog. And sometimes just what I've got laying right there whenever I decide to get the dog out of the kennel. You know, sometimes I just put my slip leash on and go ahead and go train on them. And I'll train on them while I'm walking around in the barn looking for my pinch collar.
Right, me
and
too,
the e-collar and stuff like that, and not get aggravated at them, you know. But it's helping them be better. It's helping them get them prepared for the next 5 or 10 minutes in their training. But I think as you've learned, your attitude makes a huge difference.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you look at how good you are now with dogs compared to a year or two ago. I mean, now if things aren't going right, you're looking for a way to make them go right, not be so aggravated because they're not going so right. And I think that makes a lot of difference with a lot of people. And a lot of people, I tell them, they're just not, maybe that's not their thing to train their own dog. Maybe their thing is to have board and train with us, and us train their dog, and then us teach them how to work with their dog.
Right.
You know, and I think that's the hardest thing. Sometimes people come here and they're like, well, I want to do it myself. And it's like, you spent 2 or 3 years getting him this bad or whatever you want to call it, you know, and now you work 8 or 10 or 12 hours a day, and you come home and you're not in the best moods to train on your dog. And so it just kind of sometimes snowballs from there the wrong way rather than having somebody else do it. Me, I would never send my dog to a trainer and have him to train him for 2 or 3 weeks or a month and send him home without teaching me what they taught the dog and how to get that to work, you know. And now we have more videos. We need to make some more, but on dogs that go home, what they learn from us and how the people can continue that, you know. It's not a video on how to train your dog, it's how to keep up with what we've taught your dog. So, Brett, you got anything?
Yeah, Debbie Sheen said, is there any way to lessen my GSD's strong prey instincts?
Is it what now?
Is there any way to lessen my GSD's strong prey instincts?
Boy, you know, it depends if you've trained it that way. I mean, we've had a dog that was trained with ball and tug ropes and different things over the years, and they always get one of those anytime they're trying to be good or bad, you know. And so I think we'd need a little bit more information on exactly what you mean, how old is the dog and stuff like that. But
it's, I think it's Annie.
Debbie Sheen.
Oh, so it is Annie?
Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's Annie.
Debbie Sheen. She's got a picture of a profile picture of like a flower.
A what?
A profile picture of a flower.
Maybe that's not right.
But it always ever who it is. It goes
I think
back.
it's Annie.
Huh?
I think that's Annie.
It goes back to the owner being able to control their dogs in any situation. A lot of times that's what happens when the dogs come here is the people's dog sees a cat or a squirrel or a bird or a deer or a cow or a goat, then the dog can't hear no more. And for me, that's a lack of, I won't always say it's a lack of training, because a lot of times the dog's just trained to know better than that. The handler, the owner is not trained enough to hold the dog to that high of a standard. It's just, me, whenever a dog's at a dead run after a chicken, you should be able to stop that dog. And you can all your dogs now, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it doesn't matter what they're chasing. And I think that's the thing that people don't do is either their dog isn't trained, which is the Annie that we know, she's trained enough to do it. It might take a couple days to get her back in line as far as listening to everything, but if not, then it depends upon what we're talking about. And is the dog trained? Or has the dog only been trained to have a high drive? We had a dog here recently that was only trained to...
Yeah, this dog hasn't.
Just lose it, over a toy.
Yeah, it's a lot harder if you've really, really taught drive.
Debbie said 5 years old, previous owners enhanced the prey instinct.
Yeah, it's really hard to get it out of them if you're not really familiar with how to get them out of it. And we've done it before, and I mean, sometimes it depends on how well the dog's trained, Some of these dogs are like police dogs or stuff are really trained, and drug dogs and stuff, and protection dogs are really trained to have a high drive to do something so they can get this toy or ball or tug rope. Or I mean, I seen one recently where the guy really plays tug hard with the dog once it found something. So if and you have one of those dogs that you inherited or adopted or something, it was trained to be that, it's really hard for that person to get it out of it. Now, for me, I've taught a dog here, I don't know how many years ago, actually the person told me I could never get their dog to give me a ball or a tug that it had, and I'd worked with the dog a little bit, never had it here for boarding training, I just worked with it in some lessons and stuff, and it took me like 3 or 4 minutes to get it to drop the rope and the tug rope and walk off and leave it, and they were pretty traumatized, the owners was, because they just said it wasn't possible, and the dog did it. But the only reason the dog did it was because of what little training I'd done with the dog. It was black and white, and I'd never trained on the dog to take the tug and fight and pull and with it. So it was really easy for me to do it, and it was really easy for the dog to do it too. And it didn't change the dog's mindset and what he did, So I think that's the hardest thing. And if you're here local, I mean, you could always get a hold of us and set up a consultation with us, come in, and we can meet you and the dog and try to see if we can figure out a way to help you. Bianca, you wait?
Yeah.
I got a couple things for you if you want to talk about. It's Sunday today, so we'll get this out this week. And then you have a couple things coming up this week you want to talk about. You have a group walk, you have an obedience clinic. Do you want to talk about any of those things?
Yeah. We have an obedience clinic Wednesday.
Is it full yet?
Let me look. I think that the question that was asked is a 2-part answer.
What question?
It's if you can lessen prey drive in a dog, if your dog has trained with us, or if it hasn't,
That's a question you're asking them?
Well, yeah, because if it's trained with us, then it's a matter of an owner practicing.
Well, and if we've really worked with it, I don't know. I mean, any dog that we have here that has those issues, we've always addressed them if we knew them. Knew it, correct? I was talking to Bianca, but she's on something.
We have a group walk October 31st at 9 a.m.
Now, that in Sherwood?
No.
Because that's the one at Snyder Park.
I don't know where that's at.
Huh?
Which one? The group walk? That one's at Rogers Landing?
It's supposed to be, I thought, but I thought I seen it pop up and said it was at Snyder Park.
Where was that?
I don't know.
Instagram and Facebook says.
Huh.
Yeah, because mine shows Snyder Park.
Someone else asked that too, but I don't see that.
Check.
Well, let's continue on, and we need to figure out why it's showing 2 places.
I agree. Okay.
Hey, I'm trying to keep on track. Pretty good, huh?
Then we have an obedience clinic that is almost full. Yeah.
Okay.
So, what else did you ask, Brett?
Just what was going on, what's coming up this week, what we have going on, any updates specifically with the business. Dogs up for adoption.
Oh, we have several dogs. We have a dog here that we don't ever adopt dogs here, but we have a friend's dog here, someone who passed away, and this dog's going to go to the New Bird Shelter, from my understanding, right?
Yeah, they're boarding the dog here right now, and then
they just have it here so we can try to find it a home. And I wanted to bring the dog here because I knew the owner.
And we're training on it.
Yeah. So we're just working with it because it's a friend
super
of mine.
nice King Corso Lab female.
Is that what it is? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She's cool.
She was a single guy, older gentleman owned her, and he lived in, I'm assuming, an apartment. And she's just a nice dog. And so if somebody needs her, she's black. I think got a little bit of white on her. And then we've got the white dog here from the shelter. What's her name?
Amelia? Is it Amelia?
Yeah, Amelia. She's here from the shelter for adoption right now. And is that the only dogs we have here?
That's what I thought.
Seems like we had another one, but
There's only two.
yeah. Well, we had Yoshi from the Newburgh Animal Shelter, but he's back down there now.
Who's Yoshi?
The one we called Dozer.
One that left, yeah.
Yeah.
So, anything else, Brett? So, I think that one of the things that's really fun for people, if they can learn how to do it, and if they can do it, is if you have your dog controlled to where you can always recall it, is to find places to take them so you can take them off leash and let them play. And find people that have dogs that are good that you can meet together and let your dogs play, and try to keep some of the dogs out of dog parks, because there's so many dogs get in trouble at dog parks. And I know there's dogs who don't,
For sure.
We've seen them at Sherwood a lot at the dog park, and all the times I've been by there at Snyder Park, I've never seen dogs in fights.
No.
But I don't go down there and watch them.
But we also do see fights at dog parks pretty often.
Yeah, so, Brett, you got anything we should add now?
Yeah, where might be a good place for people to take their dogs?
The only place I know legally you can take them is the coast, I guess, the beach, or
Shampooey has an off-leash place, yeah.
Yeah, you just have to be careful with all those places, because some people really get butt hurt if you don't let your dog say hi to their dog, and we ran into that at the beach, and I don't know, down the river a time or two. And the people at the river, though, that we ran into, they never got an attitude with us over that.
No.
Rogers
yeah.
Landing.
Yeah, they're all super
They kind of
polite.
understood,
Yeah.
The guy at the coast, he just, I don't know, he needed to go get help, mental help or something, I think. But it's fun to see the amount of dogs now that we've trained, that people are going with other people or coming here to set your dogs free. Or
Yeah, set your dog free has been really fun.
People talk the other day about being able to take their dogs camping with them now. And if your dog goes through board and train program here, I mean, they sure should be able to go camping.
For sure.
It's just a matter of what can you do, when you go camping. You can't let your dog lay out there by your feet, even on a leash. If you have other dogs in the campgrounds that are turds and are going to come and attack your dog.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, to me, it's really just about protecting your dog. So anytime you get in those situations, I mean, you should always have your dog crate trained, which if they've been here, they should be crate trained. But if you go camping with your dog, you should always have a crate. And if you have people that show up in the campground and they've got dogs that just aren't good, or they won't keep them away from your dog, just put your dog in a crate, and then deal with the other dogs or the people or whatever you choose to do, But you should always have your dog set up in a situation to where you can control it and keep it safe, and don't feel bad about putting your dog in a crate. I mean, your dog would rather be in a crate with you than home in a crate or home loose, They always like to be with you. And that's why I told Bianca, I almost felt bad I didn't take Barry on my trip with me, because he could have had a lot of fun. But he would have had to lay around in the trailer a lot or in the motorhome, but I didn't drive home, so I flew. So it would have been a lot of work to get him back home. And he had fun here. He just pouted a little bit. So, Bianca, you got anything you want to add?
I don't think so. I'll follow up on
Brett?
it.
Mickey said we're taking Blue to the beach for the first time since Marvin Pierce Dog Teacher and when he bit.
Well, tell him we said bye or hi. No, he'll come back. He's cool.
Yeah, we just
excited.
always leash our dogs if we see other dogs coming, and we stand in between our dog and the other dogs and go the other direction if we need to, and then turn them back loose when the people
That's the
walk
hardest
by.
thing. Hardest thing for people to understand is every dog doesn't want to say hi to every dog.
Right.
You know, and same as people.
I don't want dogs I don't know saying hi to my dogs.
Yeah, I don't want a lot of dogs I know saying hi to my
true.
dog. So, and people the same way. I don't go run down the beach and say hi to everybody walking down the beach.
Yeah.
You know, get up in their face and try to hug on them and stuff like the people's dogs do. So I think it's a matter of always with your dogs at the beach. For me, if my dog's loose, running loose, like Doc said, if I see any dog, I'm going to call my dog to me and put him on a leash until that dog's gone. Whether that dog's on leash or off leash, I still call my dog and put him on a leash.
Yeah.
So, Bianca, you don't have anything to add?
No.
It's very unusual. Brett?
I could add something if you want. I got questions.
Well, from people or you?
Well, just things you could do through the winter. You were talking about treadmills.
Yeah, exercise your dogs, you know, in the wintertime, and I don't think that's something people should slack off of with their dog as much as they do themselves, you know?
It's hard for me when people do slack off on exercising their dogs in the winter because I feel like the dogs have more energy.
Yeah, because they're just
when it's cooler out, you know, when it's
chilling,
hot
you know?
out, they don't want to run as much as right now when it's cold out. Those dogs are romping when we take them out.
And
there.
we see that all the time, you know, when we take them out in the summer when it's 90 degrees.
They're
10
done.
minutes, they're ready to go
like
back
it's
to bed.
hot,
They're
let's go lay
just-
down.
Yeah,
I'm the same way. I've been hiking all over the place now that it's cool
yeah,
down.
it's a lot nicer weather to be outside roaming around. And so I think that is a big...
Treadmill is great. You can recall them in the house and, you know, take them on a short walk, but you got to do something to get them exercise and not just turn them out in the backyard for a quick
Or take them for a 2-block
4-minute
walk.
romp. And,
you know, some people walk their dog. I walk my dog 2 blocks. I walk my dog 10 minutes this
one
morning,
time a
10
day.
minutes at night. And it's like, oh, crap. That's not very much, you know. And
depending on the dog, too. Some dogs need a lot more than that.
Yes, and some older dogs, you know, you get 10, 12, 14-year-old dogs, they may not need near as much.
They might just
as
go
a
up a
young
couple
dog.
blocks and be ready to go home.
But a lot of times, these young pups, you know, they don't need a whole lot. They just need it numerous amounts.
Multiple times a day.
Yeah, you could need to think about doing a little bit more. And a lot of these pups, you know, before you go to bed, take them out and exercise them or put them on a treadmill for a while or whatever. In the middle of the night, they wake up bawling, whining, or barking. You should do the same, take them potty and exercise them. But most people don't want to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and go walking their dog for 20 minutes. So
Right.
if you have a spot where they go potty, just take them out to go potty. And if you have a treadmill, put them on a treadmill. Or if they're well enough mannered in the house, you can just play a little bit of ball with them in the house, or a little bit of fetch or something to get them some exercise. And it don't take a lot of time.
Our rule of thumb is that if you can't get them to just quit playing ball, you shouldn't really be playing ball in the house.
And they shouldn't just be running in the house because they want to run around and follow you to the bathroom. And
they get the ball, they come back. They get the ball, they come back. It doesn't become a
you
bull
know,
in a china shop situation.
We was talking to some people out here the other day in the round pen about dogs, keeping them out of the kitchen. And I was telling the guy that, you know, I've had people to do it, just put down that blue tape, that
Painter's tape
across there and just teach them not to cross the line. And you were telling someone it's not about running your dog out of the kitchen every time they come in, it's to not let them in the kitchen, you know?
Right, yeah, because
That's
so many
the thing.
people can teach their dogs something like out of the kitchen means get out of the kitchen, but it doesn't teach the dog. What you're teaching the dog is you can enter the kitchen, but if I ask you to leave, you have to leave. And most people, what they don't know they can get is to teach the dog not to enter the kitchen in the first place and make that a boundary that they're not supposed to cross.
And then people that have the open floor space, you know, where they don't really have doors, you can still do that, you know.
You can.
I done a lesson with somebody years ago, and I just showed them, I just took 2 leashes and laid them on the floor and taught their dog not to go across it into the kitchen.
Yeah, I've done that too.
So any kind of barrier just to teach that dog that they can't cross into that area. And it don't take them very long to figure it out, but it takes them a long time to figure it out if you keep letting them in the kitchen and keep running them out. All you're teaching them is leave on command. You're not teaching them to stay out. Well, Brett, you anything else?
No. What's it?
All right. Well, we're going to bail off here, Bianca, if you don't have nothing.
No, I'm good.
All right. We're going to jump off here and go do something. I don't know. So y'all have a great day, and thanks for joining us.